Okay, getting back to Apple. What do we think about this Cloud Tunes thing?
I don't know. I don't have much opinions on these kinds of things. Let me put it this way. I'll let Phil talk more than me. I'm just going to say this short thing, and then Phil said it. I am skeptical about cloud services. Period. I will use it for backup. I will use it for some exterior services.
Well, no. That's what this is. And this is the debate right here. Apple is the third to announce a service like this. Amazon was first.
But I thought it was like Google's Mixer or whatever, where Google's like advertising everything is on a...
No. What these services are is music you already have can be put on a cloud drive and a cloud-based folder for your media files, so you can stream them, is what all of these are. Amazon and Google have both taken the stance that we do not need licenses to give people permission to stream their own files.
And Google has? Or
No, Google hasn't. Apple, on the other hand, has leveraged the deals they have with everybody who's in iTunes and basically brokered anybody who's in iTunes, we have their express permission for redistribution via streaming by cloud service. So if you buy it in iTunes, they have the little legal okay to let you stream it too. And and the argument here is, do you need that okay to use something you already own and stream it to yourself, or does that violate our? It's on, and was this legal okay even necessary for Apple, or is Apple going to be the only one that doesn't get sued out of existence for letting people do what they want with their own stuff?
Let Phil answer.
I think on that situation, I think when I heard that both Amazon and Google have basically gone over the record industry's head about it, to be honest, I'm quite pleased, because, to be honest, I think when it's something you already own, that their whole thing about it is to make you pay for it over and over again. That's their whole business model, and any time that you've got a way of avoiding paying for it for the 5th or 4th or 100th time, they don't like it, and that's as simple as. But if you already own it, what's the problem? All that is basically just cloud storage, like backup, basically. Even though it's for streaming, it's still nothing more. It's still stuff that you've already purchased. So why should you have to, why should they get the licenses, or and then risk having to charge you for them having to get the licenses when you've already purchased the music? Quite frankly, I think that as you already own it, that you should be able to put it there.
Well, and in some ways, is Apple sending the wrong message by catering to this mentality that you do have to pay for using it again?
Well, in answer to that, let's just put it this way: all I can say is I'm seriously looking now towards December now, when my contract ends, and if Apple doesn't react until they get the deals and it takes longer and longer, then I might seriously be done with it as far as Apple's concerned and the iPhone, because if that's really what they're doing and the record industries are milking it for all it's worth, then is that really worth sticking with a platform that's going to look after the industry and not their customers?
Well, and not to play devil's advocate here, but that's what I'm going to wind up doing here. Apple is in a situation when it comes to that. Google's large enough that they can say F you. Amazon is the backbone for so many web services, you really can't afford to piss them off. Apple, on the other hand, one of their biggest bargaining tips right now is all those agreements and exclusives they have with this old business model media to distribute this content through iTunes. And if they take that stance, no, you're not entitled to bill things 3 times, they might piss some of those agreements off. that may be why they did that, but at the end of the day, like you said, they're, the end result is they're dragging their feet on some things that there's no reason they have to, except to cater to people who think they're entitled to things they're not. It's not.
And the one thing that did cross my mind, of course, is that you could argue that obviously the music industry is partly responsible for Apple still being here today, because if they hadn't given Apple the agreements for iTunes and the music and what have you, they may not still be in business today. So maybe that's why Apple doesn't want to go.
Do you think that's one? Do you agree with that bit, or do you think Apple would still be here even without that?
Without the music business?
Yeah.
Well, if I recall correctly, I know they had, even when Jobs came back, they had a couple of negative quarters. I think a whole year maybe. And then they went negative in 2000 again. I've always stated that the iPod essentially saved Apple, maybe for an interim. Probably not completely, but it made the recovery less painful by far. And
what made that was iTunes.
Jobs has clearly stated that the iPod, iPhone, and the music and the whole music thing is their clear revenue winner. Now, it's not to say they don't make great profits off of Macs, but I've always pretty much stated that Apple is always the company that somehow, whether people want to say they created it or were the first to make it successfully to the market, was something that's been tried and maybe failed, they are great at that. It's like the iPad. They sell 15 million in less than a year, which I don't think anybody else will achieve it. It'll come and go, and then of course they'll probably lose market share to that or whatever, and then create something else, and then sell another 15 million of whatever that X product is. I think but they put themselves in that, and that's something they excel at doing, and I think that's I guess, going back to your question, is how they survived. They created the iPod, then they created the, along with iTunes, and started making successful deals. They expanded upon iTunes. They got movies, and then now the App Store. It's created an extremely powerful tool. Now, I think that's probably put them in a position that they are not used to now. Now they're going to be a big boy. They're a big dog. Now they deal with producers, and they're trying to get into books. And I think that's probably a totally different animal than maybe that they're used to. And they probably are like, wow, it's been this successful. Let's maybe take a step back and see how to approach it.
Don't take this the wrong way, but one thing historically Apple as a company has lacked is the ability to practice. They're perfectly okay with vendor lock-in and stomping on the little guy and so on and so forth. But one thing they've always lacked is, ruthless is the wrong word, but the cunning to go, even though this is how this industry has worked, there's no legal requirement for us to work this way. So we're gonna honor what we have to do, but we're not gonna honor anything more, and really just climb out on that ledge of gray business. Again, these are bad words.
What do you mean by that?
Well, okay. This right here with the copyright thing is the perfect example. A number of companies are, going, you know what? We don't have to pay you money for people to use something they already bought. But that's not the way business has been done with the record industry for the last 30 to 50 years. Nobody's really climbed out on that ledge. Because they're like, we don't want to piss these people off. They're the content holders. An example of that going back to, back to 1985. Apple could not get their head around the idea of not providing a total package, and so on. It's that they're adequate at innovating, as you've said. Like, they create iPads and Newtons and iPods and so on and so forth. But it's like they reach this point where they can only innovate within the confines of this box of today's world. And when it comes time to go, well, you know what, this box doesn't make sense anymore, throw it away and make a whole new box. Whenever you get into something like that, it seems to be something Apple has a problem making that transition, and they can't do it till everybody else has proven it's the way to do it. And
well, I think your question was based on the context of when Apple has survived and not gone like to the music side of things. Who knows? I think it would have been a far weaker company had it not delved into the music industry as it did.
I now know what I need to do with my time machine. It's like
yeah, but the thing of it is that I've observed on how Apple has made successful product launches, and they've made cash cows of constantly inventing or maybe reinventing and taking it successfully to market. But I do think that Apple has learned a lot with some of these licenses. Obviously, Apple was before Amazon and Google to the music industry, making it digital and scoring us big deals. I really appreciate how Apple played a part in giving us individual songs for 99 cents and so on and so forth, and securing against DRM, even though Amazon did bring a lot of songs without DRM before, but I think that was just because iTunes was so much far more larger than what Amazon was getting, and then Amazon comes into the game where DRM could be removed. I think that Apple is making a bet. It's kind of like this whole thing where I don't want to make an analogy, but I was going to make an analogy to USB 3 and Thunderbolt, but it's kind of like they're making a bet and saying they don't want to get into this later on and probably have to, if it goes to trial or something like that in a lawsuit, but the music industry decides to say this is bullcrap, and if Amazon doesn't watch their back and Google, Apple's got it in writing and saying, hey, we made a deal, and the other guys did. I think that they're just safeguarding their best, because iTunes is, and I think that's what they're understanding, that iTunes and everything that it derives, because iTunes now includes the app, it's the whole marketplace, the App Store and everything. It's a huge cash cow that they've got to make sure are not going to have problems with, and they're going to have to bite the bullet and go, well, gee, now we've screwed over in licensing and this and that, and how do you recover from something like that? So I think that they're just betting on saying we don't lose a whole lot by negotiating deals right now, and if Google and Amazon decide not to do it, it's up to them to take the risk.
I don't really think they're taking a risk, and I think Apple.
Yeah, but did we not discuss last time how when music changes, media formats and the law has changed? I mean, these music producers, I think on was the last show that we were saying, they can be pretty damn aggressive. And
that's the business model they love, but it's broken, and I mean, honestly.
So you think they would lose in court, is what you're saying?
I really do think they would, because here's the case. Here's the case that's going there. Okay, I'm the music producer. Yes, I want to sue this company that's letting my customers use something they bought. I mean, do you really see them winning that case?
You and I could agree, but
stranger things have happened. Dear. Logic maybe not, but I mean, to be honest, I wouldn't put anything past them, to be honest.
Well, honestly, I would like to see that case go to court, because the end result there would be you'd be putting fair use on...
But you accepted it, see? That's the thing. Apple doesn't want... Do you know how much it costs already to front all this law? I mean, that's like an extra headache, an extra expense. I'm sure the legal fees are considered budget and a drop in the bucket, but it's still money. Money's money. And if Apple can just get rid of that headache, I think as they're saying, hey, it's a great opportunity cost to take it now. Let's get it out of the way. It's not going to be a problem for the future.
And for those of you who don't know what Bit is talking about, I suggest you Google the term legal breach. And that basically it's rather, there comes a point where voiding a contract, it becomes cheaper to void a contract than to obey it. And it has to do with the legal costs and a bunch of other things. And that really is the debate here in a nutshell. Amazon and Google are betting that the cost of the legal breach of pursuing them, of a case that would likely be lost, and what would be put at stake. Because if that case went to court and the record labels and RIA and so on lost it, it would basically create a case that's a precedent for torpedoing what's left of the DMCA, which we all want. So I don't think they'd be stupid enough to pursue it. On the other hand, Apple's betting that it's cheaper, just like you say, to pay the guild and then let them sue the other guys and tie up their capital and so on and so forth. However, if that should happen to happen, Apple would immediately disregard the contract and stop paying the money because there's now a court ruling that says they don't have to.
Yeah. Well, but wait a minute. But if there was a court ruling, I think that they still have a contract. That contract is separate from the law.
See, that's true. Then that would hurt Apple because they'd have to keep paying the money.
They would file, because then they could then lead to breach of contract and saying, well, how is a contract? Founding as a law has changed.
Well, no, and that's the thing. Every contract and any law that governs contract, there's like a clause in there somewhere that basically states if any provision or condition in this is deemed void by the law, then the agreement shall be void, or so on and so forth. But that doesn't mean you're not going to be sued for breaching the agreement that's now worthless.
I mean, it's just the two different approaches. I just think Apple's just trying to be preemptive. So.
Yeah, that's right. Apple is for the DMCA. Oh, I had to say it.